telling you about our story. So every journey, the journey that we're on is no different. That starts with a story. And here's ours. So this is March 16th, a couple of days after the Ethiopia confirmed its first or two COVID cases. And it was a little uncertain. In the US, we were locked in for the first time. We didn't know what was happening. So partly it was out of desperation and, trying to find something to do about it. I think collectively, all of us were feeling this way. We just sent a tweet to the community and to the tech community, basically say, let's just get together and see what happened. That's where this started. And at the beginning, nobody, I don't think any one of us actually expected for this thing to grow as much as it did. And it was mainly to get, a couple of hackers together and see if we can do something. And in the first 24 hours, roughly about 300 people showed up. And that kind of took us by surprise. And that's what we know now is the Ethiopia COVID-19 response team formed. So we're 1,800 people strong. And do not underestimate, these are 1,800 individuals, but more importantly, these are 1,800 stories, 1,800 talent, 1,800 views and viewpoints, and it's such a strong community, and it came together almost overnight. And if you actually look at who's actually involved, these are the creme de creme, right? These are the best of the best in everything that they do. And it just ended up being started as a tech thing, but it ended up being, as you can see, some of the projects that we've been involved with, it actually quickly envelopes into these multi-tentacle different project efforts where people with different interests came in and found a home.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't mind muting yourself.
Yeah.
And so what happened is together, with the help of everybody, with all 1,800 of you, we found a way to build the most vibrant, effective Ethiopian online community almost overnight, right? And this is very talented group of young, talented people came together almost instantly, self-organized, created a very collaborative environment, and be able to actually do on multiple work streams. This is near unheard of in the Ethiopian community. In the African community, it's very rare for these things to happen, and to happen very serendipitously without almost any planning. So this, as we prepared for this presentation, it actually, took us back why, it forced us to reflect why we're doing the stuff that we're doing. Why are we doing this? Why are we getting together on a Saturday afternoon to talk about this? Or why is, like most of you, hopped on a Slack channel and to talk about what to do next? Or why have you sacrificed night after night to talk about how to do operationally? And I think it boils down to the North Star that we had, all of us had. We had a personal story, and I can tell you mine. For me, the reason, honestly, it's not the impact of the stuff that we've done with the COVID-19. I don't think it's going to be measured by impact, by numbers, by spreadsheet, or the impact would not be measured in those matrices. I measure it by specific matrix that I have for myself. I just want my two kids to be able to see their grandparent, their great-grandparent when they go home. I have my grandma, the only living grandmother that I have. She is 80-some-year-old. She has breathing problems. She lives in Ethiopia, and I want my kids to see her. So I'm in this fight just so that my kids are able to see her and not find her and not in some unmarked grave, right? So the motivation that I think the North Star for most of us who are involved here, it evolves around this. These are people that we know. These are our parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters and neighbors that are living in Ethiopia. And it just so happens that we're at the right time, at the right place to do something about it, right? in the same 100-day period that we were working on ECRT, the number of cases went from 3 to 5,000, right? And that's a very, very sobering number. But it doesn't have to be, right? What happens next is up to us. We can hold this thing by the bullhorn and just change the trajectory, right? As we've seen multiple times. And it's important that we understand actually the power of you, the power of the individual, and how you actually can change the trajectory of this thing. And it's an immense amount of power. I keep telling this story that I think, like, if you save one life, you basically lived twice as much, right? If you lived 10, you've lived as many as 10 lives. So it's important that you have something here. Obviously, you care enough that you're here. So you might as well make it. And we're going to show you how we actually, the first 100 days, as we reflect, how the first 100 days went about. And it would actually set us up to the second phase of our effort, which I think is even more critical, if not more important than we did on the first one. And the way we organized ourselves is, this is all new to us. So we have to figure out things on the fly. We basically essentially organized ourselves, into 3 audiences. There's a general public audience. We've done awareness campaigns, isolated centers, and tackling food insecurity and protective sanitary. And for essential workers, we've done medical supplies, so on and so forth, and as well as providing medical expertise, mental support, mental health support, as well as medical equipment manufacturing potentially. And for government institutions, we built digital tools and we built data models and tactical support and app development. All of these things happened because of you, right? Because of this 1,800 people. And it hasn't been straightforward way, right? And we're going to honestly discuss that today. But it's important to be able to take a pause and actually talk about what was done already and what actually comes next. So to that end, I will hand it over to Nati, who's going to talk about the project. Nati?
All right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and I just want to start off by saying it would be impossible to go into the details and everything about what we did regarding the project within the time frame. There's been a lot of work that has happened across the different projects, and we're really thankful for everybody putting all the work. But continuing on that story that Mike just started, when we started, we thought our projects mostly around tech, and we were trying to get to build tech products so we could better help the Ministry of Health or any other government agencies and local folks in Ethiopia to support them in their digital tools. And then based on that, we were able to create over 10 different open source projects. And this range from building different dashboards, forms, bots, and it's just a large spectrum of tools. And the approach was, what kind of tools, or how could we use technology to make the impact on the ground so that the healthcare workers, the government institutions, we could help them solve their problems. And that's why you could see up here is, the broad set of the toolkit, right? And then, we have our sites just to continue to raise the awareness across the general public and making sure that we spread the message across clearly. And then once we built all these tools and had this tech presence there, we decided to open it up and kind of say, instead of just impacting Ethiopia, this is an open source tool that we could extend to the larger Africa community and enable other countries to take the lessons learned through our civic engagement blogs, as well as continue to work on the open source tools to our Africa COVID response toolkit. And Jonas will talk a little bit more about this later. So to follow up, Stefanis will continue the details on how we organized as a team.
Awesome. Hey guys. So yeah, as grassroots, all of this was, we started to learn as the tech projects started to develop that a lot of people were interested in building other projects. And so we instantly knew this model of, you know, fill in gaps where you see it, it really needed a little bit more structure. And as a volunteer initiative, people started to assemble in addition to the projects that they were already working on. So, you know, we started to pull from our own personal networks. The partnership aspect kind of came in beautifully. We reached out to Slack. Stuart tweeted us, and that was really awesome. They donated their platform. We reached out to Asana, helped us with a project management tool and gave us 100 seats. Zoom gave us a few, like almost 10 licenses that we donated to other nonprofits that are working on COVID relief efforts. We had a bunch of tools. AWS thankfully gave us a few credits for us to kind of host a lot of the projects. So, you know, we started to realize like people were willing to donate their services, knowing that, you know, we were all taking our time voluntarily to kind of work on these initiatives. Internal communications, that was like the MailChimp, also gave us credit. And then we just started to realize, like, how do we hold each other accountable and find a better way for all of us to kind of plug in? And we started to realize these all hands were super important for us to implement. Thankfully, I think Pomi's on the call. We really appreciate you taking lead and structuring all of that for us. That was, to this day, we're just like, Pomi killed that. It was phenomenal to watch. And there was just, that was one of our techniques of, you know, given the fact that a lot of us working on teams that, you know, we, you know, at work, where we didn't really understand how we were going to get everyone that was placed all over the world to kind of like, you know, stay consistent and keep the momentum going. As we started to develop, we started to realize there was a few more projects under ops that we really needed to fine tune. And I really hope people listening today that may be interested reach out to kind of help us on more of a better onboarding flow for our teams to as we expand, as people have been wanting to be interested in volunteering, in addition to recruiting for specific lead roles, and in addition to re-engaging our base and understanding where everyone's best skill set can really be maximized. And through that process, we started to realize, like, you know, we want to be able to amplify folks that are interested in leading a project that we didn't even think about. So we started to kind of think of those as Pomi too, naming it the Moonshots, where if someone really wanted to lead something and it wasn't quite yet scoped out, we put it under Moonshots until it was really, you know, we were able to find the value add and a team behind it to really like keep it going. We went ahead and did that. So if you are someone that's watching today that sees something that they want to kind of tackle on the COVID-19 front in Ethiopia, you know, we will take you in with open arms, and we'll plug you into Moonshots, and hopefully it's a project of your own. I want to move on to the next slide. I was hoping Reddy will be on the call because she really spearheaded this whole thing. I couldn't imagine anyone else working on this particular initiative, but we have a series of projects under marketing. We have the ECRT site that will be rolling out in addition to the fundraising efforts to kind of re-engage and see who else would be interested in leading some of the things. So it's a little bit more clear for all the projects to be plugged into. We have an amazing lead for public relations, Jegnawoch. I think you're on the call. Blessings to you for leading that initiative. We have a whole base of almost 80 awareness research folks. We didn't even realize how big this project was going to be, given the fact we thought we were just doing it for our awareness content, until we realized, you know, people from the Ministry of Innovation and the Prime Minister's office was reaching out saying, hey, do you guys have any material on X? You know, and I had no idea. Now there is a moonshot for this project to open up to anyone else that may need information on COVID-related initiatives. Awareness content, we're really blessed. We've actually gotten reached out from an organization that identified that we would be a great partner to kind of start rolling out initiatives that tackle the rural areas. And I wish the team was here to like really speak on this, but this has been beautiful. We didn't expect we were going to really roll out social media, given this was more for the Ministry of Health. But as it's transpired, it has a solid team, 7 people, really making sure that the content is accurate, it's data driven, and hopefully shareable for folks to share to their networks. In addition, we started to realize that there was a lot of people within the social media realm that really wanted to help, but didn't know how. And so we just said, hey, if you're willing to just share the content, they did. So these were like, we were able to team up with a research team to extract what the top platforms were in Ethiopia, and we partnered with them. And now as we start rolling out the fundraiser and a lot of the social media content, they have been amazing partners to kind of like extend the reach for us. In addition, Radiat has really spearheaded this special projects initiative. We realized all the projects needed support on the asset front and the copy and everything. And so she's been, oh my gosh, a blessing all around to make sure that all the projects had exactly what they needed and we resourced. Language translations, this was spearheaded by the amazing Zabib. I know you were on this call today. And unfortunately she's back at work full time. So, we're ready for her when she's ready to kind of, balance and juggle. But we have an amazing team here that's been translating for all work streams in addition to other outside entities. And again, none of us would have imagined that all of these initiatives would have, expanded in the way that it did. So the healthcare ventilator medical team, this was a beautiful project to see. I'm gonna actually let Kenny speak on this a little later just because they need their own time in itself. But I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood that when we were building out these projects, one of the things that everyone aligned on was the fact that our healthcare team on the ground needed the utmost support, given that all these projects wouldn't mean anything if they weren't protected and they weren't taken care of and they weren't resourced the way they needed to be. So again, Kenny will speak on this a little later. Delivery team. I really wish, actually, Samra, if you don't mind speaking on this a little bit, or Kanan, I feel like it deserves its own attention. If not, I can just speak on it high level.
Yeah, not at all. Thank you. Yeah, I can just, so the delivery team really came together around Jonas Dinkana. He's not on the call, but really had the idea to sort of deliver food to people in, people in hospitals. And then we quickly, and then also to promote food delivery services and grocery delivery services. And so what we really found out was that those services already had a lot of, and a lot of people, they sort of had already started executing on the idea. And so we tried to figure out what else was useful. We started to think about maybe delivering to quarantine centers. We also found out that they had people donating food, or there was cafeterias in the quarantine centers. So what we ended up realizing was a need, and what we ended up identifying was that there was a need for clothing delivery to quarantine centers. And if Edom's on the call, I really want to shout her out. And Nahum for spearheading that and organizing and Sergio for organizing clothing donations to a couple locations in Addis, having them laundered at different hotels and having them delivered along with sanitary napkins and other essential items. And what we're working on now is care packages for vulnerable communities. And so we're still in the works of banging out the details, but we're hoping to deliver care packages throughout Addis and potentially outside of Addis to economically vulnerable people and older populations and expose themselves. And that's that on that. Thank you. I'm going to pass it back to you, Safani.
Blessings. Thank you so much. All right. So the long-awaited fundraising efforts, we did have a few hiccups on this journey, given the fact that we are not established 501c3. We wanted to make sure that our initiatives actually, really went it deserved the most attention and enough resources. And so I know there was conversations that we discussed with another fiscal sponsor. We are figuring out other ways where we can partner with them. But thankfully, Habesha Networks, we're so grateful to extend and understand the magnitude of the projects that we're working on and actually saw the value. And so we are going to be kickstarting. Nura will be discussing this a little bit more further later on in this presentation. But we were able to kind of identify a few things under this work stream. We created a fundraising advisory committee with a bunch of people that, come from the landscape of, VC and funding, and that wanted to help, but not necessarily wanted to be in the trenches within these projects. So we just figured we create a space for them to plug in and get updates as we get them. And then when we launched our fundraiser, they were going to be able to kind of share it within their networks as a part of ECRT. In addition, we were able to identify 4 spaces, specifically high net worth individuals, that folks that really, again, wanted to, cut a check and say, hey, I love what you guys are doing. And in addition to that, we were able to identify a bunch of grants and foundations that was spearheaded by Tihit. Again, because these the particular foundations and grant section is something that's a little bit more long-term. It's not something that has a quick turnaround. We understood that there was some other initiatives that we wanted to make sure we cater to. So the corporate end, we realized, majority of our network that first came together came from a lot of these companies that definitely had one-to-one matching and had actual sharing capacity within their software, software like payments, distribution channels, and we are definitely doubling down on that. And then lastly, our large crowdfunding efforts that are led by Melat and Tubi that will be rolling out early next week. And then lastly, we just found a bunch of cool fundraising growth hacks, identifying who are, folks that were already doing GoFundMes and figuring out who we should reach out to that were, influential in their specific spaces that saw the value in a lot of the work that we're doing. And then, lastly, the Ethiopian Diaspora Trust Fund, we needed a donation page, and we went ahead and were able to build that out, given we already built one out for the ambassador's office that Nati will speak a little bit more about right after this.
Yeah, so in the diaspora context, so far it's been focused mostly on initiatives back home in Ethiopia and kind of seeing how we could help there. But interestingly, we got a call from the U.S. Embassy here and asking us to support the Ethiopian and the Habesha community in the States as well, and the fact that they needed some help around, creating a donation portal as well as like a call center to better serve the community here. So this is again where we thought about it, heard about the ask, and kind of opened up our projects to continue to impact our people, even though they're also in the States. And then one initiative that we worked with them on was the Diaspora app. It's an amazing app that now Helen and the team has been working on to basically help with the contact tracing, as well as provide resources for the diaspora that are staying in the US. Additionally, we worked with the embassy to set up a donation portal for them so they could better fundraise and continue to raise funds. And I mean, successfully so far, they're able to raise over $150,000. Yep, $150,000 on something that we've built and provided them. So that's really exciting that they're able to continue to make the impact that they wanted to do as well. So I guess this again shows the breadth of it. We've been supporting folks in Ethiopia as well, and then here in the diaspora community. Yeah, so that's the work we've been doing there. And then right before we head over to the challenge, Stefani's mentioned about the healthcare and ventilator medical devices earlier, but just wanted to transition over to Kanani to give us a little bit more information on that work that's been done.
Thank you, Nati. Hello, everybody. I'm Kanani. I've been working mostly on the healthcare and ventilator group. When we started out, we sent out some surveys, asked a few people, and there was a big push and demand for doing things that are on the ground. So we started off with surveys, tried to understand the problem, and we first started with PPE alternatives. What can we do with manufacturing things on the ground, and having a two approach, helping the economy plus helping people with COVID, just knowing that with the entire world going after PPEs and the same things, what are the creative things we can do to solve the problem in Ethiopia? We can't just copy-paste solutions, and we have to be specific to what Ethiopia needs. So that's what we've been focusing on with this group. So we started off with the PPE, and then there was a group of very ambitious people that are thinking about actually making a ventilator in Ethiopia. It's going to be the first medical device made in Ethiopia or in Africa. And that group started working on looking for open source designs, and that spun off into a maintenance project with Tagbara that spun off into sparrow wave design, that spun off into trying to get medical device donations. And we just have so much going on, but they are 100% focused on trying to solve for healthcare issues, medical issues on the ground, because without them, it's very hard for us to actually control this virus. So we are 100% focused on them, but there's a lot going on. There's a lot of new developments you'll hear later on. But if you are interested in this, and if you actually want to work on any of the things that you're seeing on the board, please join us. It's very exciting. It's a lot of work, but it's also high impact. Thank you. Let's move on.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think right now, Jonathan is going to take over and talk about some of the challenges that we've had along the way. Jonathan.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Mike, for setting me up for the next topic here. So if you get to the next slide, please. So clearly by now, I think everyone is sort of seeing the breadth of all the different projects that ECRT is involved in, and what we're also embarking on from the IT side, as well as also the actual healthcare side. The big thing is, if we say that we haven't had any issues, I think that would be lying. And we certainly have had a lot of learning along the ways, but we wanted to at least highlight a few of the issues that or challenges that we've really encountered, some that we've overcome through solutions, and some that continues to be a challenge for everyone. And the first one, and I would say the obvious one, is the fact that obviously the virus is spreading faster, and this literally has changed our social norm all across, from business on how we do everything. And to be honest, ECRT has not been immune from that impact as well. So unfortunately, this will continue to be a challenge, and we're going to have to work through a collaborative and efficient way to get to that. But that's something that obviously everyone is going to be impacted. Secondly, as I'm sure most of you are probably seeing, there are a lot of events that are really the driving force for some of the racial injustice and some of the movements that are happening. That probably took a different focus from some organizations. Justified, however, obviously probably the wrong timing when it comes to what we're battling with. And again, that's nothing that we could have controlled or anybody could have done anything, but that's something that we're going to work through. I would say that the third one is more of our learning and growing pains of, we know that there's a lot of organizations that are working on this in Ethiopia. But having said that, as Mike said initially, this is new. We've never done this before. So just structuring our organization to really see how we can streamline and achieve some of the goals, the lofty goals, I should say, that we've outlined in the projects that Stefanit and Nati mentioned. That's going to, again, continue to be our learning curve, but that's more internal, and I think we've definitely learned a lot, and we're making some progress, as you'll see soon. And the third one is, I think this is where many of you, some of the organizations that we partner with are here. We know that this is not a battle that's going to be fought alone or won alone. We have to find partners, and we have to continue to work with all our partners. And that means making the case for why we wanted to be partners. So obviously some of you have come here because you saw value in us, and we're going to continue to ensure that we're creating that value from both sides. And I think that's, again, finding the right partner, but then also making sure that we're leveraging our skill sets with the true needs in Ethiopia, and making sure that together that we're creating this really symbiotic relationship to impact. And then the last one, and I think few people have mentioned it here, at the end of the day, everyone here is a volunteer. We have competing priorities, jobs, family, and so on. But everyone is driven to get to whatever impact that they could do with this work. And at the end of the day, if we're just looking at the work and not really seeing the impact, it really means nothing. So it helps to remember, probably by reminding everyone that you can't pour from an empty cup. And what that means is, I think in the midst of those 100 days that we've been operating, there's been a lot of progress, but we don't often talk about them, or we don't often celebrate them, because this is just work that we're putting. And again, this entire presentation is a recap for those 100 days, but more importantly, to really ensure that everyone understands that all your labor on all the projects that we've covered right before, you are bringing about some sort of impact. And from the awareness side, just creating that poster might not seem a whole lot to you, but there's going to be several people that might be reading that and actually following that might be now saved as a result of that. So the whole idea today is, while we know that this volunteer work is hard and sometimes harder to connect, this is a marathon, and we have to celebrate every mile that we're covering. And so over the next couple slides here, despite all the challenges that we have wins, and we wanted to celebrate them with you all. So Mike, if you go to the next slide, and we'll start with the wins.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things, and Edom can kick us off on the clothing donation drive. I don't know if Edom is on.
Cool. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, so as Samar mentioned earlier, the delivery team has mainly been focused on clothing donations for quarantine centers, and we actually just completed the second successful drop this past Thursday, and we're notified that clothing from the first drop actually went to quarantine centers in Deredawa, which is great to hear that we've had such direct impact so immediately. And several partners, as you can see on the left, have been integral to this work. So they include local stores that actually accepted and stored donations from the public. So like Sabin, not on the slide, but want to shout out to them. And then those who helped wash our clothes, specifically hotels, including Jupiter and Desaling Hotel. Huge contributions on their side. And then Ishi Express, you can see some photos on the right-hand side. And these guys have just helped across the entire spectrum of the journey, from picking up clothes from Sabin, dropping them at wash donations, and at IOM specifically. And so IOM has been our main accepting partner. And again, they're partnering with quarantine centers all across the country. And so, yeah, huge thanks to everyone on the delivery team for making this possible so far. And we anticipate one more drop before we go into some other partnerships focused more on care packages that Summer mentioned earlier. So, yeah.
Awesome. That's really incredible. I've been we've always been in awe of how the delivery team keeps showing up and delivering and making things happen. And the impact on here is very clear and very impactful immediately. And Jonas is going to talk about the next win that we had as on this journey, which was the GitHub satellite conference. Jonas?
Sure, yes. So, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was just the idea of building software tools, right? And so what's pretty amazing is that there have now been over 60 contributors to the open source projects that we've collectively built. So there's actually over 10 products now. There was 10 main products that we basically pulled together to make the Africa COVID-19 response toolkit. And that involves, the API, things like forms. So when you come into the country in Ethiopia, filling out a form to say, where you've been, any symptoms you might have. So contact tracing, all sorts of tooling, including a dashboard. I'm not going to list out every project, but each product on its own is actually a ton of work. It took over 60 contributors to pull all of these products together. All of them were open sourced under the MIT license. So anyone is actually free to use the products however they'd like, and to fork them and to modify them however they see fit. And all of this was actually presented at the GitHub Satellite Virtual Conference, which is one of the largest software development and software engineering events in the world, right? GitHub is the largest platform for software development. So we worked with their team, their social impact team, to talk about the toolkit and how it could be helpful for other organizations, government bodies, and Mike had the opportunity to actually represent and talk on a panel that included some other folks that are building open source tooling for two pretty large projects, DHIS and also ComCare. And so it's just a great opportunity to sort of spread the message and also to let people know that, you know, this was just a group of random, you know, software engineers and designers and product managers and folks like myself who weren't even writing any code, just helping where we could. And we all came together and were able to build these products, right? And so it was just an amazing sort of way to bring it all together. And now you can actually go to the GitHub org and see all the projects and dive into them. But huge shout out to, you know, everybody that led a project there. And if you wrote a line of code, if you designed the images that went on the READMEs, there was just a ton of collaboration and work that went into that. There's obviously a bunch of technology aspects to talk about, which I won't get into, but personally, I'm pretty excited that this was all built using, you know, the latest and greatest technologies. And we were very fortunate to have Nati because he is the AWS expert. So we're able to partner with a bunch of folks to help pull these products together. And now anyone can use these products. So yeah, thank you to everybody that pulled that together.
Yeah, this was a very labor of love, and it took a lot of time to get it up, and it's exciting to see that. And I mean, yeah, it's just, this keeps rolling and we keep winning, it looks like, and Kanani is going to tell us about Lifebox.
Okay. Hi again. So one of the projects we're working on was around medical device maintenance. So there's a lot of medical devices that get donated in countries like Ethiopia, almost 80% according to our research. So a lot of that device either does not match or has a missing part or doesn't work, or there are many things that go behind these devices that are donated. So when we were working on trying to make ventilators in Ethiopia, we found out about this work that the Tagbaret Polytech College in Addis is working on in order to maintain some of these devices. So we partnered with them and tried to find out what it is that they need. And in order to get them those accessories, we applied to a few grants, and one of them is Lifebox. Lifebox is a big company started by Dr. Atul Gawande, and they were interested in some of the projects that we were doing. We did a presentation and we were able to win $25,000 that will go directly into getting these accessories that Tagbaret College is going to use to fix the devices that will go all over Ethiopia. So big shout out to the team, to everyone that worked on the grant, the presentation, after the presentation, a few things that happened. The whole team works very hard. I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Tagbaret College, because they are the ones who are doing a lot of the hard work. We're just doing the small portion of getting them what they need. And of course, Lifebox for believing in us and actually going a step further to ask us to present. If you could go to the next slide. They even asked us to talk about that specific medical device maintenance and present it to a group of young innovation webinar competition where we just shared some of the research that we did. And I want to thank Jonas for doing an excellent presentation. And we really felt at the end of it that we understood and we could actually talk about this specific issue of getting so many donations that we don't get as much use of it as we could, and there could be something there to do in order to leverage all these donations and the skill sets that we have, and having some kind of a training. We're in the talks to actually pivot into a new project to leverage some of the stuff that we have learned and the connections that we are making while we are going around and talking about this subject matter. So again, thank you to the team. This is an excellent presentation, and it will be available on YouTube for anyone who is interested to hear more about this. So thank you.
Yep, fantastic. This is such a great news, and the team keeps kicking ass. And Andy, also we want to mention about the face shield.
There's more. So with the face shields, there were a few things that we tried to find that is made in Ethiopia. So a lot of the PPE, as you know, everyone is going after the same things, but there was actually a company in Ethiopia called Above Leather. They make leather products, but when they saw the need, they actually started creating the face shields in Ethiopia, and their price was so reasonable. The product was high quality, and we had a chance to connect them with an organization called Distant Relatives. They actually fundraised all the money that was needed to buy almost 4,000 face shields that we were able to give to doctors and healthcare professionals outside of Addis. As things started happening beyond Addis, we realized that a lot of these healthcare professionals don't have anything beyond surgical masks, and we were able to leverage this partnership. Really big shout out to Distant Relatives, because they brought the money. That's one of the hardest things to do in a nonprofit. They brought us all the money, and we connected them with local labor that's actually high quality. I highly recommend you guys check out their GoFundMe. The Above Leather has a GoFundMe where they're also trying to make and donate to hospitals, and we were able to give over 4,000 face shields across the country. So big thank you to the partners, big thank you to everyone that allowed this to happen. Big shout out to Anand for connecting us to the people that told us where to send the face shields. So another win, and congratulations to the team.
Yeah, this has been a very heartwarming story from the start to the end, and amazing work, everybody here. Kanaan, jump on.
Yeah. So mental health care support was actually, it's a fantastic story of collaboration. One of our contacts on the ground, Dr. Jegnawoch, who's been closely working with us to highlight all of the problems that the hospitals have been facing, was quick to connect us with Yafet, who works and co-owns Abrahot Counseling Agency in Ethiopia and works at Addis Ababa University in the psychology department. And at the time, they were actually trying to provide counseling to healthcare workers based on a study that was done in Italy of the suicide rates that went up as a result of the stress that the healthcare workers were facing. And it was so fascinating that they've been trying to do that for 2 months in anticipation. They'd done the study, they had the proposal ready, and they were actually deploying their volunteers from the psychology department of AAU to go out and give support. But they didn't have the resources needed. And all it took was a phone call. We had maybe a phone call within 24 hours set up with myself, Mike, and Yafet, who ironed it out. And Mike remembered that Mary Stops Ethiopia, the country director, was actually on our Slack group and was super willing to collaborate in any way possible. And so he connected the dots. Within the next 48 hours, we had 20 hotlines that Mary Stops was willing to donate. By the end of the week, the MOU was finalized, the hotlines were ready and available. And our marketing team with Maro, who jumped on and ironed out all of these designs that you see, with Radiet, who worked with the translation team in just scheduling this work to be prioritized. Within a 2-week span, we had these things ready to go. And it's such a big, huge gap that we weren't even thinking about early on, but it has made such a difference. Now the hotline people are being trained as we speak, and they're ready to deploy these. And so this was the quickest and best example of how connecting the dots and people that are available on Slack. And by the way, before Mike came into the play, there was Dawit that was trying to find us people. There was Jonas, like everybody that was on Slack was willing to support. And that's really huge. And that's indicative of what we have here. Having access, it's like having a yellow page of all the most willing and available people that are ready to jump to just make a difference as quick as possible. And it has been such a fulfilling project to be involved in. And then to piggyback off of that, the Jegnawoch campaign was, when we realized the impact that stress is going to have on our healthcare workers, we talked to our team with Abrahot, our partners there, and one of the suggestions was having motivational and inspirational work posted all over so that they could look at how much we appreciate them. And we reached out to Etan Comics, who is an Ethiopian-owned comic book. He's making a huge impact, telling stories that are African and depicting African people as superheroes, which is, such a heartwarming effort on its own. But he was quick to jump on and mobilize his team so that they can come up with these beautiful depictions of our healthcare workers as heroes. And as you can see, the people that are behind are his star superheroes, Jamber and Hawi, and he's putting our actual human superheroes before them in this campaign because of the unbelievable risk that they're putting themselves at right now. And it has been heartwarming. And as a result of that, we're actually expanding it because, okay, now we have these, beautiful pictures, right? But how do we materialize this into something useful for the ground? And so we have relaunched this campaign, like a phase 2 of this campaign, and it's currently ongoing. And within 2 weeks, we're going to surprise St. Peter's Hospital with big posters of their choice of superheroes. And we're going to host lunch for 150 staff members and also have live mental health care check-in for them to see, because they are under tremendous stress right now. So this has been, again, like a really fulfilling thing where people just jumped on. This is all happening where, you see a name on Slack and you're like, hey, I want this. Can you do it? And it's always been either I can do it or here's a person that can do it for you. And that's what's so unique about this team, about this volunteer group. It's just how collaborative it's been. Edom has rushed in to help more than once and has always been resourceful and creative to try and solve for problems. We're going to have our continuous partner, Ishi Express, that's actually going to export the food from Agalgil, who's again another extension of Jupiter Hotels, who's been a continuous supporter as well. So it's been a love campaign, right? And it's been a loving collaboration, and it's just to show this energy that we feel towards our healthcare workers.
Yeah, I can't say enough about this campaign. It's very close to my heart, and really, if you guys want to support some of these partners, please buy their comic books. When you go to the restaurants, make sure you support them because they've been a backbone for everything that we've done so far. And on the awareness side, Safanit, since Reddy is not there.
Sorry. Awesome. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about this. This has been such a labor of love. We've had a couple health professionals, doctors, nurses that have come together to make sure that we had data-centered, accurate information to allocate to our general networks. Originally, as we've kind of shared, we put this together to be more of like an arm from the Ministry of Health. As we started to kind of develop, we started to realize, okay, like we need to just get this stuff out. This is something that, there has just been a lot of it just wasn't as clear to everybody on how to navigate this space. So we teamed up with a bunch of amazing designers, and we went ahead and teamed up with the Ministry of Health and basically asked if this was something that we can just keep doing on behalf of ECRT, and we did. As of today, I actually wish I had that number with you, but we have millions of reach across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we hope we will still remain as partners with Ministry of Health, Ethiopian Public Health Institute, to make sure that all this information gets disseminated in multiple channels. We were able to spearhead a printable version of this so we can reach rural areas, as we shared. And we're in the middle of a conversation with a nonprofit for a grant to help us make this happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's been a really, really amazing work on this on the social media side, and millions of people have been reached as a result of, designers and social media experts who actually just know how to do their job. And Reddy and her team really deserve a lot of credit. On the next win, it's just so much winning. But going back, we're gonna switch to Jerry to talk about the reliability test grant that was won. Jerry, if you're on, you're mute. Okay. Maybe Kenny, you want to talk about this? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So this is one of the two grants.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
wonderful.
we can.
Wonderful.
Okay. So to give you some context, the ventilator workstream was initially started to address the shortage of ventilators in Ethiopia. We wanted to provide a recipe to manufacture low-cost ventilators. We were selecting open source designs by using a ranking system, and we saw a common thread. Most of the designs had little to no testing, so there was no real way of knowing if the prototypes actually work. So I'm an alumni of San Jose State University, so I reached out to my mentor and a faculty member in our biomedical engineering department, Dr. Addis, to support us. So we applied and won a grant to set up a reliability testing station at San Jose State. And this would actually be integrated into the curriculum for medical device product realization courses. And most importantly, our work here will be shared to support more innovation in Ethiopia. And I'll go into more details on the next slide. So we partnered with UNDP Accelerator Lab to tackle COVID-19 challenges with local solutions. A fund was put together by UNDP Ethiopia and the Ministry of Innovation and Technology. We'll be providing them with a framework of medical device product development to the entrepreneur community. Our engineers will be mentoring 3 winners of the COVID-19 Challenge Fund. They're building ventilators. We'll also support UNDP to set up reliability testing to make sure their prototypes meet industry standards. I've actually also seen other health tech projects that the tech community here might be interested in. Some of the teams are working on a multilingual information app with news and case tracking features. I saw an electronic prescription platform for medication delivery, and another team developed a machine learning algorithm for X-ray and CT scan. So if you're interested in getting involved, please let me know. I would also like to thank my awesome team here who's brought their expertise and passion to drive this initiative forward. Our advisors, Dr. Araya and Dr. Eros, our talented engineers, Bini, Salem, Gobena, and Cal. Lastly, I would like to thank Matheus and Kanani for making this partnership possible and their amazing leadership. If I forgot to mention your name, please do know I definitely appreciate you and thank you.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely ambitious, and it's just mind-boggling, like what you guys are trying to do is just, yeah. Anyway, just an awe of everybody in this team and what you're doing, and we can't wait to see what it actually materialize. And this is the next win is the project data storytelling. So within our group, there's a very fantastic human being. His name is His name is Yabeval, and he's from Germany. And this guy is a machine, and he used all data available. He literally, yeah, and Safani is telling me to call it, but yeah, he's an incredible human being, and he produces these data storytelling products and reports out. And the stuff that you see here on the left is it shows how it's reachable.
Because I read this.
It's reachable areas and not non-reachable areas, so that you can easily identify how to actually deploy resources and how you're going to be able to. And he was able to extrapolate this data based on a limited data set that he has. And I think the real potential, and you're going to hear about what's happening next with this, the real potential here is by just looking at the data, we can help the Minister of Health and organizations like EPHI and other organizations to be able to be a force multiplier, right? Data is really the key to understanding what's going on, especially in cases like Ethiopia where resources very limited. So you have to be very tactical in how you exactly deploy. And this is the underpinning of all of that happening. And related to that, Mahalet, there's like an incredible report, one of a kind, that's being produced by the Ethiopian health data folks. And it's actually been very heartwarming. The COVID-19 situational report is a monthly report that gets generated. And from the get-go, she's been ahead of the curve. She understands this data much better than most of us. She has domain expertise. And I really, really encourage everybody on this call to go out and check out the ethiopianhealthdata.org site, where you can actually grab the situational report, a monthly report that comes out. Look at the dashboard, the daily dashboard. It's actually doing a phenomenal job in informing the public about what's going on the ground by just looking at the public data. Just imagine what can be done with once and if we get access to the actual data on the ground. We think it's that unlocks the potential, the true potential of this team, and we're working actively on that side. The other thing that is worth noting is how like Yabeval and his team, and his brother in this case actually, are going out of the way to actually think about this data solution. So they're flying a drone, right? They're flying a drone in the middle of Addis Ababa to see the clusters, right? Are they social distancing? Is the people in Ethiopia, are they following these best practices? Or so you will be able to use some machine learning code, and you will be able to do some predictive modeling to actually see where you actually have to use your deployment. And these are the kind of out of the box thinking that would never happen in any other setting if it wasn't for this type of group, right? This is what I think, personally, this is what the kind of stuff that gets me, right? Nobody asked them to do this, right? It's just, these are like two basic misfits. They're trying to just solve a problem in the most innovative way possible, and they're using their drones and some machine learning code, and before you know it, a data story, it's a story is told using that data. So it's a so inspiring story for me. Yeah, I can talk about this for 1,000 years, but let's talk about partnership. And Safani, if you want to take it over, or sorry, Samra, I think one of the two.
I think we're going to share this slide, but really what I want to say about partnerships is just like through this experience, we've realized that that the way that we have the best impact is through partnerships with other organizations and like-minded organizations. And so a lot of the things that we've been able to accomplish so far are a direct result of being able to work in collaboration with all types of different entities in different locations with different structures, because we have a shared goal. And with that, I'll pass it to Safani.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, I think one of the things that really resonated for me to really like go hard in this initiative as a whole is that we all understood that we weren't trying to go over there and solve these problems, and we wanted to make sure that because we're very privileged in many different ways, that like what can we do to supplement and amplify the initiatives that are already going, and then maybe even resource them and guide them to empower them to be able to make these solves on their own. And so through that, we were able to pull from our network from folks on the ground to tools that we already kind of established early on during our side under operations. But it's been magic to see everybody step up and see that, like, you know, we can do this with our time. And it's been amazing to watch. If you want to move on to the next slide. I think these are just more partnerships that we've been very blessed to have.
Yeah, and it's been like an incredible amount of partnership, and you know, some of these partnerships like would never happen, right?
Yeah.
Like Safani, yeah, it's been incredible, and Kenny will talk about some of the next steps, and
yeah. There's so much that has been done, and we could really do another couple of hours of talking to you about some of the things that were done, that were paused, that had to shift gears. But we're trying to limit it, and we just mentioned some of the highlights. And to keep it short, the next slide will just mention some of the projects that are in flight, but really they're not small projects. For example, there's a partnership that's happening with Ethio and Rotary to deliver grocery. That's really a big project. There is the medical device maintenance project that I mentioned before. I'm already getting a few comments on the chat asking me how they can be a part of this, because this really is a big deal, and a few of us are excited to really get this started. There's the oxygen therapy. This came about from our connection with the Ethiopian Diaspora Council, where a doctor took his time to tell me how important it is to have the oxygen therapy, and if it's possible to make or to try to make ventilators in Ethiopia, we could also try and make things like the nasal cannula and the mask and all of that, which will have almost a 40% impact out of the 100 people that are infected with COVID and beyond COVID as well. So these are just some of the projects. Oh, I have to mention there will be more collaboration with Lifebox. Enachin Bajachin. That is an amazing project that we just learned about this last week, but they are already on their way, about to pilot next week, and they're trying to provide millions of face masks. They're trying to make water supply and so many things that they're trying to do, and they're connecting with a few companies like the UN and things like that. And we are going to be able to work with them in order to push some of these initiatives and also highlight what they're doing. So there are a lot of things going on. Really, we could go on and on for hours. The data storytelling is going to be working with the Ethiopian Diaspora Council. We had a meeting last week. We're going to meet them next week. So exciting, promising, and really, I'm very proud to be a member of this level of hard work and focus. And this just one slide says a lot. So thank you for everybody involved.
Yeah, and yeah, and it must be said that it's very gratifying to see the amount of left us work. It's very inspiring, and I think as we talk about the fundraising and what happens next, I think it's incumbent on us to figure out how to get involved. So, Noura, if you're on the call, maybe you can talk about the launch.
Yeah, so we are super excited. Our fundraising effort kicks off next week. The campaign will roll out on all of our digital channels. So when you see it, please boost it to your friends, your family, your network, your white friends, everybody. Share it and show us love. So we've actually made it super simple to donate, and we are truly emphasizing transparency in this campaign. You'll see us highlighting our medical teams that we're fundraising for, as well as some of our instrumental volunteers. I do want to quickly shout out the fundraising team for working really hard, specifically Safanid for driving a lot of the collaborations. As she mentioned, we are not a nonprofit, so for us being able to collect money and distribute it is, there's some back end work that goes into that. So Safanid has been able to get us partnerships with Habsha Networks, and big thank you to her. But also Rediat Meron Melat Tubi for driving this to completion. So yeah, next week you'll see the campaign, and it's really, I think we've done an incredible job, and we're really excited to push this out to the community and get this ball going.
That's awesome. Yeah, we can't wait. It's been a labor of love for sure.
Yes.
And getting here was not easy, but we're here now. Can't wait for this to be kicked off, and for everybody to help on. And yeah, I think with that, I think we're on the last slide. And, you know, I think there are a couple of things that worth mentioning here. It's, you know, none of us, like all of these things that you've heard is done by people like you, right? At the end of the day, any one of us that talked about, you know, any of the projects that we worked on are like regular people, basically, you know, you effectively, right? And we're transformed in the last 13 weeks. We're literally transformed by what we've seen, what we've heard, what's possible, but more importantly, by the people that we've met on this journey. I think, you know, I'm going to spring up a little surprise for some of these people that I don't think they get enough credit, right? So I think it's important to recognize Safanit and what she means for this journey. And I don't think it's enough to say how difficult and how hard she works. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's like, she's amazing, amazing human being. And at the end of the day, when you see her, she is us, right? But she's like a gladiator on the field. And Samra equally, like, I mean, who would believe, like, I mean, between Samra and Naane, maybe there's like another 14-year-old kid between us, you know, in age. But this were, I mean, what can we say about Samra, right? The dedication that she's shown, the more importantly, what I appreciate about her is I disagree with her quite a bit, but her moral clarity is more than anything I appreciate about her. She's clear about certain things, and that matters, right? And that sort of clarity is not obvious. Kanani is a friend of mine that I've known for years and years and years and years, too many years to list, but I've seen her find her voice, right? And yeah, it's very inspiring. Yeah, and Nati meant a lot. Nati is an incredible human being and needs to be said wide, and needs to be said loudly. I think he's gonna make us proud, all of us. Jonas, there isn't a whole lot to say about Jonas. He's a pain in the ass, you know? But he's good. He's a good kind of pain in the ass. I love him, but he's great. He asks difficult questions. And Kanaan, I've known Kanaan for a while. I just didn't know how awesome she was. And I keep telling her, she sleeps a lot. You know, she goes to sleep early. That's the only thing that I have a problem with. But Kanaan is an incredible connector. Her ability to just get a feel of what's going on the ground and be able to just immediately jump on it is just, yeah, there isn't a whole lot to say. Yeah, Jonathan, I don't know where you came from, but Jonathan, I feel like I've known you forever and you've been incredible. But yeah, these ops team guys, like, it's important that you guys know, like, for 2.5 hours, 3 days a week, these guys labor every single detail you can imagine, right? We hop on a call at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, and the call doesn't end until midnight, sometimes 12:30. This is 3 times a week for 13 consecutive weeks. In the first 10 weeks, we were meeting every single day, right? So, yeah, but
forget the MOH calls, Mike. Don't forget the MOH calls.
Oh yeah, the use call. Yeah. It's too many. But the point is, my point is, when I say we need you, like, when the reason why you're like any one of these people, if you meet them on the street, I don't think you're gonna be able to tell them apart. This is the point, right? The point is, like, you can do this.
Hold on.
You can do this. Your friends can do this. Your sister, your brother, you know, you can do this. You just have to jump in, right? Yeah, man, it's like it's the moment. Just come out and save lives and do your part, right?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Mike, sorry.
Safani. This is Kanaan, like,
it's
come on, where are you taking my thunder up in here?
it wouldn't be a call if I didn't interrupt, but I think it's really important this needs to be said. We owe a whole lot to you. I know that, this is a love fest of sorts, but I think this is like really important that we acknowledge. Had it not been for you and, the movement that you started in sending out that tweet and getting all of the people that you knew that were already resourceful, that were already willing, you tapped into your network to create this space for all of us to come and contribute. And we both know, Mike, me and you rarely see eye to eye because we're very different personalities. I immensely admire that you put your, Mike, I think everybody needs to know this. Mike is a father of 2. He runs a company and is involved in like 10 other volunteer activities spanning the subject of politics to charity to blah, 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 right? And I think that it's so important that we have people like you in our community that are always going to jump to get us organized. And we're always going to disagree, but having the space where we can come together, disagree, and find a common ground where we can work together to make a difference is super important. And I have seen you do this in other communities, but we all want to thank you. This is not just Kanaan. This is a lot of the, every single one of the ops team. That's like— No,
I promise I was not asking for it when I say this,
I know, yeah, you did. Yeah. You didn't, but it needs to be said. And I think that this is an extension. That energy that you first started is the extension of what we see here today. That's the extension of what we see 1,800 people gather, right? And so that's why people that believe in your work have decided to collaborate with us. A lot of these projects in the middle of the night, at the beginning of the day, when I'm sleeping, you're still working. When I'm sleeping, you're, tapping our resources, whether it's in Ethiopia here. So we absolutely appreciate what you've created here, Mike. And we're very, very thankful for all of the sleepless nights that you've put in here to get us to where we are. So
I mean, it's just the point is, like, in all honesty, it's like, if I was half as good as some of these people that we met, we'd have gotten a lot further than we are right now. Well, I'm just not. The truth to be told, I think
this is not an argument, okay? And then
can we finish this? I know.
Move on.
And I think one more important person worth mentioning here is Pomi. I think the value that Pomi added at the top of this thing, it's incalculable, right? We're still living in the structure that was created by her and Safari. Yeah, exactly. It was a complete chaos, and if it wasn't for Pomi, I think it would have been hard. But anyway, I think what's important here to everybody on this call is just, I know that sometimes this thing takes longer than we want. It's heartbreaking, and trust me, our hearts were broken 1,000 pieces, 1,000 times over. But we somehow found a way to just pick up the pace and just keep going. And my hope is that every one of you in here will find it deep in your heart. At the end of the day, it's not for glory that we're doing this, right? At the end of the day, who gives a crap, right? Who we are and what our name is, what our recognition is. It's for the people that you're true north. You just have to find it in you and join us, and let's just do the darn thing, because what happens next is up to us. It's not obvious. It's, from 5,000, 50,000 to 50,000 daily patients is not obvious. We can change it, right? And now I remain as defiant as ever. And we have now 100 days worth of evidence that the stuff that we do actually matters. So if you've been burned out, if you feel like you're getting tired, that things were not, working, we're humans too, we're not perfect, but come on, let's go, right? This is go time. And I think, I think what we do here is going to matter for a lot of people because of these people. At the end of the day, we want to multiply these faces by 10,000 times. And yeah, so let's do this, guys, and join us. Hop on the Slack channel, go to the website. And if you have any questions, email us. And if you have any questions on the Slack, just ping me or Stefanit or Kenani or any one of us. Just ping me, and we can go in. And I know we've been on this call for a while, but we're gonna open it up for as long as you need to actually talk if you have any questions. But if you feel like dropping off, you can too. But we're gonna be sticking around to ask and to answer any questions. So thank you again. All right. Easy. Calm down, people. Yeah, this was. Thank you, everybody. And so, does anybody has any questions that we can help answer?
Let me just point out that a few people were asking me about the maintenance project. It seems like it's, especially the people in Ethiopia, already are aware that it's a big problem. So we're going to have a kickoff meeting. I will post all the details on Slack, but if you want to, you can reach out directly to me. I'm going to post my email, but it will likely be a project, and I'll provide all the details on Slack. But if you're not on Slack, feel free to reach out an email, and I'll make sure to include you in the meetings that are coming up.
Yeah, awesome. And if you have any problems joining the Slack, or if you have any questions, just shoot an email to info@ethiocovidrt.com, or you can tweet us, you can whatever, on any of the social media, and we'll be more than happy to help get you started. Just consider us your concierge or your chaperones until you get a hold of how exactly everything is working. But yeah, genuinely, it's full of appreciation. My heart is full today.
Mike, I think it's also worth mentioning that it doesn't have to be a project that we already have in flight. Yeah. If there are projects, if there are instances where you notice a challenge or a concern and you want to solve for it, here's your platform to come and organize yourself and use all of the resources, the networks, the connections that we have to solve for that issue. So it doesn't have to be that you have to attach yourself to current projects. You can also propose one that you see is necessary.
Yeah, I completely agree. And majority of these things were not there, right? And they're not genuinely 10, 15, 8 weeks ago. No, we didn't know what we're doing. People were just self-initiative and coming up with ideas on how to do it. And I completely agree with you, Kanan. And it needs to be pointed out that anybody and everybody can come and create and build your own. Nothing is set in stone. If needs to change, we will change.
Yeah. And actually, to drive that point home, I don't even think a lot of people know this, but Kenani is a programmer. She is a programmer, and she is leading the healthcare ventilator medical team. She could literally get a PhD right now.
Yeah,
if you wanted to.
She keeps saying canola. I was like, explain that. I have no idea what a canola is.
That tube that goes inside your nose.
All right. I know what it is. Just ask.
I'm going to go back to school. Healthcare was my calling. This was a mistake. The programming piece.
We'll give you a Kibir doctorate.
Honorary. Okay.
And I think that's important, right? So I think any personally, I'm a genuinely changed man because of this. I was talking to somebody this morning, and I was like, I'm gonna reorient my business to actually focus on healthcare, but basically at the intersection of healthcare and technology, right? Wow. This is it's reorienting, and just for that you should be involved, right? And you should be involved just for the opportunity to explore if there is another thing on this, on the other side of the mountain. So I think it's been such an incredible journey. At least it's been for me, and I hope it's been. And to that end, I think one important thing to mention is if there are anything that we can do personally to you, for you, right? If you need a contact, if you need, I know times are tough right now because of COVID. Yeah. What can we do to help each other, right? Mm-hmm. So if there are anything you guys are like family to me, right? Just reach out. Anything we can do to help each other, to grow your business, to start. My hope is some of you will get together and start a business. Some of you were going to get together and start the next non-profit out of this, because that's really the legacy of ECRT, in my opinion, right? ECRT is going to go away as soon as COVID ends, but my hope is majority of the people in here will find their calling as a result of ECRT. And yeah, man, it's like...
Dr. Safer raised his hand. He was the gentleman that told me about the cannula. So Dr. Safer, please ask your question.
Okay, no, I just wanted to make a quick statement. How are you guys?
How are you, man?
How are you, Mikey? Pleasure to meet you. This has been an amazing intent to hear. So I'm just gonna say a few words. So Safer Balalohuing, I'm a critical care physician here in DC at Washington Hospital Center. So yeah, thousands of COVID patients and really seeing the devastation that this thing can cause, and really all the grounds you guys are covering in terms of, like, I loved every little piece of it. The mental health is so real. The fact that you guys supported the close drive, the delivery team, the APIs. I mean, these are things. So I'm part of a Diaspora clinical advisory group that's working more on developing guidelines for Ethiopia on COVID-19, as well as helping with policy and advocacy. And now, like, we speak of the problems, you guys are finding the solutions. And now this is World War III. This is, as somebody says to me, this is, and hullachuhum is, the Amarinya name from frontline providers is Fitaurari. So all of you guys are Fitauraris, really. Keep it up. Much needed. You may not see the people that are going to say thank you, but this is something that you guys are going to talk about for generations. Health and tech is a very, very, that's where the future is, right? That's why Amazon is going to it. That's why Apple is going to it. It's a lovely field. It's so needed in Ethiopia. We need to leapfrog in Yagarachi healthcare. We really need to examine why is it so bad, to be honest, right? So these are some of the solutions. So I just wanted to say a few words. Keep up. Very proud of you guys. And really, the future of Ethiopia is you guys. So keep up. Yeah, one more point I want to make is, so if you go talk to the doctors in Ethiopia, I'm sure you have seen it. They are very, very young. Like a 30-year-old who is, so I talk to the people who are running the ICUs at Yekka and at Millennium. They are very young. They are, a 30-year-old in Ethiopia with 3 years experience is shouldering so much responsibility because ሁላችንም ወጣን, ለእነሱ ጥለን የወጣ ነው እና good job, keep it up. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Saifa. This is very true of the young doctor saying what he said is absolutely true. We know a doctor. I actually don't. I call her once in a while to just say, how are you doing? When I remember when I was 27, like, can you imagine being like shouldering the responsibility of the whole COVID response on your shoulders? I just can't. I don't know how they do it. But if there is any hope to us, right, for us existing, I think it's these people, the young people who are pure in their intention, and they're gonna go out and just knock the crap out of this thing, And yeah, man, it's an incredible journey, and very appreciative. If anybody wants to say something, some thoughts, feedback, questions, feel free to raise your arms, and we'll open you up. And yeah.
So there's a question from Zion Bayana who's saying, is there a specific team that needs help right now? What is the best way to find a team project that needs an extra hand? So we didn't address it on this call, but we have these calls every Saturday. And so that's when we express like the needs, the updates, the things that we're planning on doing. And so that's the best way to get involved. In addition, when you join our Slack channel, if you post in the in the all introductions, just introducing yourself and your specific skill sets, I can definitely say that civic engagement needs a breath of fresh air. So Siona, if you want to get, I'll ping you directly and we can get in touch, looking for like some leads, some writers and people to really revive that work stream. And so I'm sure anyone else can get in touch with you as well. But just join the Slack channel, and the all introductions is really the way to get plugged in.
Let me add on that, Tion. There are actually several projects that already have what people would describe as shovel ready. So we have collected some invoices. We have partnered with a few NGOs that are actually ready to get stuff done. We could use funding. Number one, it's always funding. That's the most important and critical thing to just get something started. There are also other partners that have done a lot of the work, but they might need some expertise. There is a group that's now trying to start some kind of a training program, again, for the maintenance project. So feel free to join the Slack or reach out or email that info at EthioCovid, and we can definitely walk you through depending on what your expertise is or however you want to help. But number one, it's always the funding that can just get some of these projects executed and started. So thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, and don't be afraid. The email doesn't have to be too elaborate to just say, hey, need help. You know, basically is to get the conversation going, and we'd be more than happy to help get you moving. Absolutely. Yeah, we've been at this thing for a couple of hours now, for almost 2 hours. Is there anything in addition that we'd like to include or ask questions, anybody?
Do we want to ask EthioTube if there's anyone online? This is actually streaming live. Is there any questions from there, maybe?
Actually, there's a question on the Slack. It says we haven't been posting as much from the EthioCovid page, at least on Twitter. Is that going to pick up? Safani, do you want to take on that one?
Yep. So this actual sprint got held up with the Ministry of Health, and so we are discussing other ways we can move forward, and we'll be picking that up this week, given the fact that we are launching our fundraising efforts. So,
yeah, Eleni, if you can help, please come help the social media team. They can always use more help. I'm sure they've been,
yeah, social media. We have a lot of copywriters, so we're good on that end. We do need designers, though. So. Yeah.
And don't underestimate your network, right? So you may know a designer who can spare like a couple hours here and there, this couple of weekends or whatever. Like those are the kind of things that we can definitely use those kind of help in a consistent basis. So those are neat. So if you've identified people in your network who can be interested, please have them join the Slack channel or go to the website and fill out the form and join the channel.
So this is my moment of shameless plug. The Jegnawoch campaign is running right now. So if there are any designers on the call, or if you guys know any designers, please take on the challenge and depict our healthcare workers in a superhero-like manner, in any context or format that is best suited for you, and enter the challenge. The winner's work is going to be printed physically and posted all over St. Peter's Hospital. So please spread the word. We've posted the challenge on our social media pages, as well as on Etan Comics social media pages. So follow them and follow the hashtag and post your work. Woo.
Yeah, I think we beat this dead horse. But thank you again, everybody. It's been an amazing journey. Looking forward for the next phase. And with that, have a great afternoon. If you're in Ethiopia, have a great night. And again, thank you for joining us. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.